Picture a desolate, fog-choked moor in Scotland. The air is thick, the light is dying, and out of the mist, 3 figures emerge. They aren't entirely human, and they are waiting for a hero. Fair is foul, and foul is fair. Hover through the fog and filthy air. Welcome to Macbeth. It's William Shakespeare's shortest tragedy, his bloodiest play, and arguably his most terrifying psychological thriller. I'm your Director of Studies, and today we're stepping into the dark. We're going to look at a man who has everything: honour, bravery, the king's trust, and watch him tear his own soul apart for a crown.
But he doesn't do it alone, right? Everyone always talks about his wife and the witches.
Exactly. That's the great debate of this play. Who is really steering the ship? Is Macbeth a victim of supernatural fate? Is he manipulated by the ultimate toxic spouse? Or is the seed of terrible ambition already planted deep inside his own head? To answer that, we have to rewind to the year 1606. We need to look at the world Shakespeare was writing for. Because if you want to understand Macbeth, you have to understand paranoia.
When Shakespeare wrote Macbeth, England had a new boss. Queen Elizabeth was dead, and King James I of Scotland had taken the throne. And King James was an interesting guy.
Didn't he literally write a book about hunting witches?
He absolutely did. It was called Demonology. James was utterly terrified of the supernatural. He believed witches had conjured a storm to try and sink his ship when he was sailing back from Denmark. He personally oversaw witch trials. So, when Shakespeare puts 3 cackling, spell-casting hags in the very first scene of his new play,
he's directly pandering to the king.
Exactly. It's brilliant PR. But it wasn't just witches that James was afraid of. He was afraid of being assassinated. Just a year before Macbeth hit the stage, the Gunpowder Plot happened. Guy Fawkes and his crew tried to blow up the king and all of Parliament. The country was on edge. Treason was the ultimate nightmare. So, Shakespeare writes a play about the worst crime imaginable in the Jacobean era: regicide, the killing of a king. King Duncan in the play is chosen by God. This is the divine right of kings. To murder him isn't just a political coup, it is a crime against nature itself.
Which explains why everything goes completely crazy after Macbeth kills him. The horses eating each other, the endless darkness.
Spot on. The physical world breaks because the moral order has been shattered. The universe rejects the murderer.
Let's talk about the murder. And let's talk about ambition. Macbeth is a great warrior. He literally unseams a traitor from the nave to the chops in Act 1. But physical bravery isn't moral bravery. When the witches tell him he will be king, they don't tell him how. It's Macbeth's own mind that immediately leaps to murder. But he almost backs out. He says, "We will proceed no further in this business." He needs Lady Macbeth to push him over the edge. Yes, enter Lady Macbeth, one of the most fascinating characters in all of literature. When she reads his letter about the prophecy, she doesn't hesitate. But she knows her husband. She says he is too full of the milk of human kindness. So what does she do? She strips away her own humanity. She calls on dark spirits to unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe top full of direst cruelty. She attacks Macbeth's masculinity. She tells him that if he doesn't kill the king, he isn't a real man. It's so manipulative, but it works perfectly. It does. And this brings us to the core theme of the play: ambition without morality. Macbeth's tragic flaw, his hamartia, is his vaulting ambition. It's like a hunger that can never be satisfied. He gets the crown, but the crown doesn't bring peace. It brings terror. After he drives the dagger into King Duncan, everything changes. He hears a voice cry, "Sleep no more. Macbeth does murder sleep." That's the turning point, isn't it? He crosses a line he can never walk back from. Exactly. The blood is on his hands, literally and metaphorically. And this play uses the imagery of blood relentlessly. At first, blood is a badge of honour in battle. By Act 2, it's a stain of guilt that all great Neptune's ocean cannot wash clean.
Once you kill a king to get the crown, you have to keep killing to hold on to it. The Macbeth we see in the second half of the play is unrecognisable. He becomes a tyrant. He operates out of pure, unadulterated paranoia.
Oh, full of scorpions is my mind, dear wife.
Yes, one of the best lines in the play. He doesn't even include Lady Macbeth in his plans anymore. He has his best friend Banquo murdered. He has Macduff's innocent wife and children slaughtered. He is utterly isolated.
And what about Lady Macbeth? She was the one who said, "A little water clears us of this deed." That's the great irony. Macbeth, who was terrified at the start, becomes completely numb to the violence. But Lady Macbeth, who seemed so ruthless, cracks under the weight of the guilt. She sleepwalks. She relives the night of the murder over and over. Out, damned spot, out, I say. She is broken by the very ambition she championed. By the end of the play, Macbeth realises it was all for nothing. The witch's prophecies were a trap, words that sounded like promises but were actually poison. When he hears that his wife is dead, he doesn't weep. He just delivers one of the most famously bleak speeches in the English language. Tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. Creeps in this petty pace from day to day. Life, to him, has become a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. He has sacrificed his soul, his wife, and his honour for nothing. The play that started with thunder ends with a severed head. The natural order is restored, but the psychological wreckage is absolute.
So, why are we still reading Macbeth over 400 years later? Because the monsters in this play aren't just the witches on the heath. The real monster is the human mind. Shakespeare forces us to ask terrifying questions. What are we capable of if the right temptation comes along? How far would we go for power? And once we compromise our morality, can we ever wash the blood from our hands? Macbeth is a warning about the destructive power of unchecked ambition, the complexity of guilt, and the danger of letting others define our destiny.
It's dark, but it's kind of brilliant.
It really is. Thank you for joining us on the moors today. This video was brought to you by Director of Studies. If you enjoyed this content and want to dive deeper, we have other premium in-depth content where we cover themes, characters and GCSE exam board specifics. Head over to our website at directorofstudies.com. Keep studying, keep questioning, and whatever you do, don't trust the witches.